Hello wine lovers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a review of the wine list in first class on Qatar Airways from Doha to Hong Kong. And it's a really great wine list. First class is normally a better wine list and has some really great wines, but Qatar Airways has some really nice wines. So they have two champagnes. Rosé I started with, and this is the 2007 Bollinger Le Grand Année Rosé. 95 point James Suckling, 94 point Wine Advocate, 72% Pinot Noir, 28% Chardonnay. The residual sugar on this is 8.9 grams per milliliter, but it doesn't taste that sweet. It tasted much drier to me, and I always do this kind of game where I try to guess the residual sugar based on taste, but it seemed a little bit drier in style. So I quite like this. Qatar Airways has great service, and I kind of asked them to pair the different wines with different courses. So I had the Bollinger Rosé with my nuts, and I thought it was kind of a nice pairing. It was kind of a drier style. Maybe that made it a little bit drier with the nuts, but it's not an inexpensive wine. I think it's probably like a $400 or $500 wine or champagne. So really nice to start off this way. The other champagne is something I'm very familiar with, is the Armand de Brignac Ace of Spades, which is a controversial champagne, but all I can tell you is everyone that was in first class had that bottle. So it is a very popular bottle, no matter what people say about it or the wine snobs say about it. When given a choice, everyone takes this bottle. So it's priced in BC liquor stores around close to $400, so very similar to the rosé price of Bollinger. Maybe the Bollinger is a little bit more expensive, but it's a blend: 40% Chardonnay, 40% Pinot Noir, 20% Pinot Meunier. Pretty classic blend. I'm very familiar with this champagne, love it. It is on the sweeter side. I think the residual sugar is, I think, between 8 and 9.2 grams per milliliter. But I've always loved the richness of this champagne. So really happy to see it aboard. And of course, I took a healthy glass of this. So here's a short video. It was paired with the Iranian caviar that they served on first class. Wonderful pairing. These are some of the other wines that I did not drink, but a good selection. This is the Chateau d'Esclans 2021 Côte de Provence Rosé. This is the flagship wine of this winery that supposedly has another very popular brand called Whispering Angel. I've never actually seen that in BC, but it seems like it's a fairly substantial wine in terms of, it's probably about $40-50 wine, which is substantial for rosé. I think it's Grenache based, and it is from the same owners of Pierre Lichine, which is a Bordeaux winery. I think they purchased this in 2006. This is the other wine that I had on board, and I was very happy to see it. It's 2014 Rosé and Bordeaux from the Margaux region, second growth. So a really nice wine to have. 14 is kind of an off vintage, but I can understand why they serve that on board. You want a wine that's going to breathe very quickly. I still thought it was tight out of the bottle, and so it did take a lot of time to kind of aerate, and I probably should have had a little bit at the end of the meal. But to me, it was still very tight. But it was really fun to taste it again. I don't think it's the best example of or best vintage of Rosé and Bordeaux I have had. And in fact, so I think some of their later vintages going from 2015 onwards are a little bit more expressive. And in particular, 2018, I think, and going forward will be even better. The main that I chose to pair it with was the lobster, but it's kind of a Mediterranean lobster. You might think lobster and Bordeaux red wine is not a great match, but the kind of intensity of the spices from this Mediterranean style of lobster was actually quite nice, and I really enjoyed the pairing actually. This is a bit of a step down in terms of the wine. This is the Penfolds 28 2019. Good wine. I've done a review of it, but kind of a mid-level wine, not in the same category of Rosé and Bordeaux. So a little bit surprised it's there. It's not really that innovative a wine. It's kind of a very familiar wine to lots of people. It's not difficult to find, so I was surprised that would be on the first class list. So this is their discovery wine. It's the Domaine Chanson 2017 Pernod Vergennes Premier Cru. So again, okay wine, but I think they could do a little bit better. So when I look at wines, I look at kind of the producer, the vintage, and also the region. So this is a Premier Cru, but of the Premier Crus, it's probably not one of the more famous ones. I am familiar with Pernod Vergennes. I've done other wines from that region. Fairly small region, not really notable in Burgundy. It's a decent region. 17, I don't think, was a great vintage for Burgundy, and Domaine Chanson isn't that appealing to me in terms of just a wow factor. So it was an okay wine. Probably if they had a more exciting Burgundy, I would have taken a taste. I was at that time after the main course pretty full. I actually waved off dessert and a cheese plate because I had already eaten in the first class lounge at Doha Airport. And so this was kind of an interesting one. If I had the stomach, I would have tried this. This is the Tokaji, and it's Patronus number 5, which is kind of the sweetness code, not a kind of a medium sweetness, if you can call it that, for sweet wines. It would be an interesting wine. But if you can compare my flight on business class from Montreal to Doha, they had Kratcher, which to me would arguably be a more sought after wine than the Tokaji, or more exclusive or more interesting in my opinion. But I guess the only thing with this one, it's got a little bit more age, 2010, so that's quite interesting also. I normally stay away from the ports because generally they'll either use Goeta or Tawny port. I'd rather have vintage port if they have it. But this is a very special one. It's 40 years, which is going to be $200 to $300 a bottle. This is the grams 40-year Tawny. So it's got, again, average age of 40 years for this port. And it's going to be, I guess, very nice in terms of the smoothness of it. I'm not a real big connoisseur of port, so I do have to learn a little bit more about it to be knowledgeable. I do enjoy it. I enjoy the nuttiness of the aftertaste, and I enjoy the sweetness, especially if you pair it with almonds or pecans, but not really that knowledgeable about it. But all in all, a wonderful wine list and lots of selections. I just didn't have enough stomach because I was pretty full actually from the first class lounge meal that I already had. And you can see that review on my other YouTube channel, Trophy Food Experiences. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Until next time, happy drinking.